I got cut out of Christmas just because I'm a plumber, so I pulled the plug on my sister's law school money. Now she's begging, and honestly, life's better without her. Alright, I've been holding on to this story for a while now, trying to figure out how to even begin describing the absolute mess that unfolded. I guess introductions are in order first. I'm 33, single, and run my own plumbing company. And yeah, I get it, it's not exactly the kind of career that makes people in my family brag at dinner parties. But truthfully, I earn great money and actually enjoy what I do. There's something deeply satisfying about solving problems and helping people out, even if that sometimes means dealing with pipes and, well, people's worst messes. Literal messes, too. LOL. Now, my younger sister Lauren, she's 28, is currently in law school, and I've been the one footing the bill. Yep, you read that right. I've been covering her full tuition ever since she enrolled. Her boyfriend's this hotshot doctor at the local hospital. The guy's a real piece of work, but we'll get to him in a bit. This whole train wreck started about a week before Christmas. I got a call from my mom. And let me tell you something about her, she never calls just to check in or say hi. When her name pops up on my phone, I already know it's either about money or some family drama that needs patching up. But this time her voice had this weird, hesitant tone, like she was about to tell me someone died. Then she drops the bomb, I'm not invited to Christmas this year. Just bam, like that. No warning, no discussion, nothing. At first, I thought maybe I'd misheard her, like maybe she meant the date had changed or they were doing something different this year. But no. She flat out says it might be better if I skip it this time around. They want to keep things comfortable for everyone, she tells me. And I'm just sitting there, totally blindsided, thinking, what the hell just happened? We've never missed a single Christmas together, even when I was busting my butt working double shifts to keep my business alive. Sure, my family's always been weird about my job, they like the money it brings in, but heaven forbid they tell anyone their son or brother works in plumbing. So I pressed her, trying to get to the real reason. That's when she started doing that vague dance, rambling about professional appearances and making everyone feel at ease, but she wouldn't say anything straight. I didn't find out the truth until later that day when my cousin Jenna gave me a call. She'd overheard Lauren talking with our mom earlier in the week. Turns out, my sweet sister had told them that having me at Christmas would be uncomfortable because I didn't match the professional image she and her doctor boyfriend were going for. Let that sink in. The same sister whose law school I've been paying for was too embarrassed to have me, her plumber brother, sitting at the holiday dinner table. She was worried about how Mr. Fancy MD might react to someone who works with his hands for a living. And once I started connecting the dots, everything began to make sense. Lauren never invited me to any of her law school events, despite the fact I was the one paying for them. Whenever her friends asked about her brother, she always changed the subject. And she never, not once, introduced me to her boyfriend, even though they'd been dating for nearly a year. Want to hear the worst part? My parents went along with it. They actually agreed it would be fine to exclude their own son from Christmas just to avoid making Lauren's boyfriend uncomfortable. Me, the same guy who's been helping this family out financially since I was 20. The same guy who started a successful business from scratch. The same guy who's been quietly covering their golden daughter's education bills without asking for anything in return. My mom tried to soften the blow with, well honey, you know how these professional circles are, and some nonsense about maybe next year, once your career's more developed. More developed? Lady, I own my own business. I employ people. I make 7 figures doing honest, hard work. But apparently that doesn't count unless you wear a suit and sit in an office. I spent the rest of that day simmering. Not in some fiery, yelling kind of way, but with this cold clarity washing over me. My own family, especially my sister, had no problem taking from me while being ashamed of me the whole time. That's when I decided I'd had enough. If I was too much of an embarrassment to have at the dinner table, then surely my money was too embarrassing to keep paying for law school. What message would it send to her boyfriend if he found out the degree Lauren was chasing was being funded by the same lowly plumber she was so desperate to hide? And believe me, that was just the beginning. The real story kicked off once I decided to actually do something about it. Karma, it turns out, can be brutal, especially when it's paired with a mountain of student loans. So yeah, after finding out I got booted from Christmas just because my job supposedly clashed with Lauren's boyfriend's refined tastes, I was in a strange headspace. You know that weird calm you get when you're so angry you almost feel nothing at all? That was me. I stayed up all night going through old texts and chats with Lauren. And man, looking back, it was all there. The red flags were flapping in the wind, and I either didn't see them or chose to ignore them. Like that time last spring when she threw a party to celebrate finishing her first year of law school. I had paid for the entire year, but didn't even get an invite. When I asked her about it, she played it off like it was just some small study group hangout. Later, I saw the pictures on Facebook. It was a full-blown celebration at some fancy downtown restaurant. Then there was the laptop situation. She needed one for class, and even though I know a ton about computers, she asked me to just transfer the money to her bank account instead of going to the store with her. She said she was too busy to shop together. But now I realize she probably didn't want to be seen with her blue-collar brother in an Apple store. Thinking back, it's kind of sad funny. Whenever she needed cash, and believe me, it was often, she had no problem texting her so-called embarrassing plumber brother. But when it came to including me in her polished, shiny new life, I might as well have not existed. The silence was deafening, not just from Lauren, but from the entire family. So I started digging. One benefit of having a cousin still stuck in the family group chat? You get the inside scoop whether they know it or not. Yep. Turns out Lauren had been orchestrating my little Christmas exile for weeks. According to her boyfriend Nathan, yeah, let's go ahead and name him, came from some high and mighty, ultra-prestigious family. She told my parents she was worried about making the right impression. Apparently, having a plumber for a brother might tarnish her chances of getting ahead in the legal world. Or, in her words, hurt her professional image. Elitist nonsense. Now here's the kicker. My cousin Jenna, God bless that drama-loving legend, sent me screenshots straight from the family group chat. And I quote Lauren directly here. I just don't want Nathan to think our family isn't, educated. It could affect how his family sees me, and they've got so many legal connections. Educated? I nearly laughed out loud. I wanted so badly to text her right then and there. Lauren, you're only getting that law degree because your so-called uneducated plumber brother is coughing up $43,000 a year for your tuition. But I didn't say anything, not yet. I was starting to form a plan, and sometimes you gotta keep your cool and play the long game. Because really, this wasn't just about one stupid Christmas dinner. This was years in the making. Years of Lauren, and frankly, the rest of my family, treating me like their dirty little secret. Happy to cash the checks, but ashamed to acknowledge where they came from. Here's something most people don't know. Plumbing isn't just about wrenches and clogged drains. We train hard. Apprenticeships that last years, tough licensing exams, and continuing education to stay up to date with new building codes and tech. I've probably studied water systems and construction law more than Lauren's ever studied torts. But because I work with my hands, I get treated like some dropout who couldn't hack it in a real career. The truth is, I chose this path because I'm good at it and I saw an opportunity. Right after high school, I got into an apprenticeship, soaked up everything I could, got licensed, and eventually started my own business. Now I've got 3 company trucks out on the road, 2 full-time employees, and more jobs than I can even keep up with. And yet, to my family, I'm still the guy who unclogs toilets. Embarrassing, apparently. I kept thinking about all the extra hours I pulled, the times I skipped buying things I needed, or held off putting more into my retirement account. Also, I could make sure Lauren's tuition was paid. And the whole time, she was actively hiding me from her new boyfriend and his family. That's when Jenna hit me with another bomb. Nathan's family? They weren't even like that. His uncle's a contractor. He built the house they live in. So all this judgment Lauren imagined, it wasn't even real. It was just her projecting her own embarrassment. I sat on all of this for a few days watching the family group chat through Jenna's screenshots. I'd been quietly removed weeks earlier, supposedly to avoid discomfort during the holiday planning. Lauren was busy bragging about hosting Nathan for Christmas. She kept going on about how his family had connections at top law firms and how this dinner might help her land a summer internship. Not a single person, not one, said a word about me. No one stepped in to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't exclude the guy paying her tuition. Everyone was too caught up in Lauren's fantasy of social climbing. That's when it hit me what I needed to do was clear. If they were so desperate to pretend they didn't have a plumber in the family, I'd help them out. I'd erase myself from the picture, starting with Lauren's tuition. So after a few days of quiet brooding, I was ready to act. But I didn't want to just send a rage-filled text. That's what they'd expect, then they'd twist it into some story about me being unreasonable. Nope. I wanted this done in a way they couldn't misinterpret. I waited patiently knowing Lauren's next tuition payment was due soon, 2 weeks out to be exact. Around this time, she usually started dropping hints. Stuff like, oh hey, the school's sending reminder emails again, trying to be subtle while clearly asking for money. But this time? Nothing. Total silence. She probably thought, like always, I just send the money automatically even after being banned from Christmas dinner. Quick detail here, Lauren had set up the school's payment portal when she started. She gave me full access and login info since I was the one covering it. Real classy, right? Like I was her private ATM. So I logged in and took a look at the upcoming payment, $22,700 for the spring semester. And that number hit me hard. That's how much I was spending on someone who went out of her way to erase me from her life. You know how many clogged sinks and busted water heaters it takes to earn 21 grand? Way more than people think. That's when I picked up the phone. I didn't want to text, I wanted to hear her voice when I said it. She answered on the third ring. Her tone was irritated, like I'd interrupted something important. Hey, she said in that clipped voice of hers. Can we make this quick? I kept it cool. Oh, sure, I said casually. Just calling about your tuition. It's due soon, right? Her tone flipped instantly. Suddenly, she was sweet as pie. Oh yeah, thank you for remembering. It's due on the 19th. Then came the kicker. You're still okay to cover it, right? That's when I let it drop. Actually, I said slowly, I've been thinking about what you told Mom and Dad about Christmas, about how having a plumber for a brother might embarrass you in front of Nathan and his family. Dead silence. You could practically hear the gears grinding in her head, trying to figure out how to wriggle out of it. Who told you that? She finally blurted. Does it matter? I asked. Is it true? More silence. Then she went into damage control mode. Listen, you don't get it. Nathan's family, they're really particular. His dad's a judge. His mom's on charity boards. I just thought that it'd be better if your brother didn't exist? I finished for her. Because he's just a plumber? That's not fair, she snapped. I never said that. I need them to take me seriously if I want to have a future in law. You don't understand how these circles work. That's what she told me. I couldn't help it, I laughed. Actually, no. I don't know how these circles work. I'm just a plumber, remember? But I do know one thing. I know exactly how much I've spent on your law school. She tried to say something, maybe interrupt me, but I kept right on going. Let's break it down, shall we? First year cost me $43,000. Then the first semester of your second year? Another $22,700. Add in your laptop, your overpriced textbooks, and that fancy prep course you insisted on, and guess what? We're looking at close to 65 grand. All of that? Paid by yours truly, your so-called embarrassing plumber brother. That's when she let out a dramatic groan and said, Why are you doing this? You know how important this is for me. Nathan's family knows all the top firms. Having a plumber in the family could mess that up. So I asked her straight. Even though that plumber brother is the only reason you're even in law school to begin with? She fired back with, You promised to support me. You said you'd help me follow my dreams. I paused, then hit her with the truth. Yeah, I did. Back when you were actually proud to call me your brother. But if I'm too embarrassing to sit at Christmas dinner, then I guess my money's too embarrassing to fund your future. And man, the sound that came out of her mouth? It was like someone stepped on a screeching bird. You can't do this, she shouted. It's due in 2 weeks. What am I supposed to do? I stayed calmer than I expected. I don't know. Maybe ask Nathan. He's a doctor, right? Surely he can afford it. Or is my filthy blue-collar money the only kind you're willing to take? That's when the waterworks started. Full-blown sobs. Please, she cried. I'll tell Mom and Dad I was wrong. You can come to Christmas. Just don't do this to me. But I was done. I don't want to come to Christmas, I told her. I wouldn't want to make things uncomfortable for Nathan and his perfect family. Actually, I don't want anything to do with any of you anymore. Consider this my final contribution to a family that's embarrassed by me. Then I hung up. She was still sobbing and begging as I blocked her number. I poured myself a drink and braced for the wave of insanity I knew was coming. And oh boy, here it came. First up, Mom. She called 5 times back-to-back before I finally gave in and picked up. No, hi, no, how are you? Just immediate guilt-tripping, her specialty. She was crying, saying I was tearing the family apart and ruining Lauren's future over a silly misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? I asked. She literally told you she's ashamed of me. She didn't want me at Christmas because of my job. The same job that's been paying for her education. Mom went with the classic excuse. She didn't mean it like that. You know how Lauren gets. She just gets carried away trying to impress people. She really does look up to you. I nearly choked on my drink. She looks up to me? She banned me from the dinner table, Mom. That's some strange way of showing admiration. Then she changed tactics. Think about what this could do to her relationship with Nathan. His family could really help her career. That's when I snapped a little. Oh, Nathan? Funny how important he is, yet your own son isn't good enough to sit at the table. She started rambling again, saying I was taking things too personally and twisting their words like I was the one causing the drama instead of being the one cut out of the holiday. Next came Dad. And as expected, he didn't go for guilt, he went straight for the jugular. You're being selfish. Petty. Vindictive, he barked. You're ruining Lauren's future over your damn pride. So I hit back. Let me get this straight. I'm selfish for not wanting to throw another $22,700 at someone who's ashamed of me? Yeah, explain that logic to me, Dad. We raised you to be better than this, he growled. Oh, really? Then where was that better nature when you agreed I shouldn't come to Christmas? He tried justifying it with some garbage about making sacrifices for the greater good, like kissing Nathan's, but was somehow for the family's benefit. But here's what really got me, not one of them, not a single one, said sorry. Not for excluding me. Not for the lies. Not for Lauren treating me like dirt. Every call, every message was just blaming me for not continuing to let them walk all over me. And then came the flying monkeys. My aunt called just to say she was so disappointed in me. My uncle texted saying I needed to grow up and be the bigger person. Even Jenna, the one who originally tipped me off, messaged saying maybe I'd gone too far. But guess what? None of them offered to help with Lauren's tuition. Then comes the best part. Lauren must have thought Nathan would step up and bail her out. She told him everything, probably hoping he'd swoop in like a knight in shining scrubs. But according to Jenna, who's still feeding me updates, Nathan didn't take it well. He got quiet. Started asking questions. Wait, you have a brother? Why haven't I met him? Why didn't you mention that he's the one paying your tuition? And when Lauren tried to justify it, she only made it worse. She started babbling about professional circles and reputation. Nathan just stared at her. Said he couldn't believe she'd disrespect her own brother like that, especially one who had supported her dreams financially and emotionally. Turns out Nathan's own uncle, the one who built their family's house, was also a plumber before becoming a contractor. Nathan had even worked summers with him during high school. So yeah, her little attempt to impress him? Backfired. The next day, Nathan came over to her apartment. She probably thought he was coming to patch things up. Instead, he broke up with her. He told her he couldn't be with someone who would hide and humiliate her own brother just to chase some fake idea of social status. Who would have guessed? The guy actually had values. Meanwhile, my phone didn't stop blowing up. Mom was either crying or begging. Dad flipped between yelling and threatening. Lauren tried calling me from random numbers after I blocked hers. Eventually, I just shut my phone off. I was done playing the family's ATM. And if standing up for myself made me the villain in their eyes? Fine. I'd rather be the villain than their doormat. Nathan told her it made him seriously question her values, who she really was underneath all the polished, professional image she tried to put on. And right after that, Lauren lost it completely. She was calling me from yet another new number, crying, shouting, totally unhinged. At this point, I think she's had more burner phones than your average drug dealer. She screamed that I'd destroyed her life, that Nathan broke up with her because of me, and that everything falling apart was my fault. I couldn't help but laugh. No, Lauren, I told her, Nathan broke up with you after seeing who you really are. I just stopped helping you hide it. That's when she snapped into full-on threat mode. Said she'd accuse me of sexual assault back in high school. Said she'd report my business to the Better Business Bureau and tell everyone what a horrible brother I was. I stayed calm. Go ahead, I said. Tell the world your brother is a monster because he checks notes, paid your tuition while you pretended he didn't exist. Let me know how that works out for you. And just like that, she switched back to begging. She was sobbing, saying she couldn't afford to stay in school without me, that she'd have to drop out, that she'd lose all her friends and her future would be ruined. Maybe, I told her, you should have thought about that before you decided your own brother was too embarrassing to acknowledge. Then I hung up. According to Jenna, who was still keeping tabs, Lauren completely spiraled after Nathan dumped her. She started showing up at her parents' place at all hours, sobbing about how her life was over. Apparently, she had told all her law school friends that Nathan was going to start paying for her tuition, so when that fell apart, she had nothing lined up. The deadline for the tuition payment was closing in fast, and she had no clue what to do. She tried applying for emergency student loans, but guess what? Those take time to process. And she left it way too late. Plus, she needed a cosigner and our parents' credit. Total disaster. I wonder why, maybe because they've spent years pretending they can afford a lifestyle they definitely can't. Then I got a text from Jenna. Just one word followed by a warning. 8:43. Lauren just posted on Facebook that she's heading to your shop to confront you. She seems unstable. I barely had time to warn my employees before the front door burst open like a hurricane. Lauren came flying in like a tornado, wrapped in designer clothes, makeup smudged, hair wild, eyes red, mascara streaks like war paint. She looked like a walking meltdown. "How could you do this to me?" she shrieked in front of my entire staff and 3 confused customers. "I'm your sister. You're supposed to take care of me." I calmly tried to lead her outside or at least lower the volume, but she was hellbent on making a scene. "You're ruining my life," she screamed. "All because you're upset your precious feelings got hurt. You're so selfish." One of our regulars, a sweet older lady who's been with us for years, stood up slowly and looked Lauren square in the eye. "Young lady," she said in that calm, no-nonsense tone only older women can pull off. "Is this the brother who's been paying your tuition?" Lauren turned to her like she'd been slapped. "That's none of your business," she snapped. But the lady wasn't done. "Well, you just made it everyone's business by storming in here and yelling. From what I've gathered, you kicked your own brother out of Christmas because of his job, but still expected him to keep paying your bills. Where I come from, that's called biting the hand that feeds you." And Lauren, she didn't know what to do. You could see it in her face. She didn't know how to handle someone outside the family calling her out. But then she flipped again, full waterworks, Oscar-worthy sobbing. "You don't understand," she wailed. "He's doing this to punish me. He's ruining my future because he's jealous of my success." I laughed. I couldn't help it. "What success, Lauren? Getting dumped by your boyfriend? Maybe flunking out of law school? Screaming in a plumbing shop like a lunatic? At least I'm trying to better myself," she snapped back. "Not just playing with pipes all day like." And that's when she caught herself, realized she was about to insult a room full of plumbers. That's when Troy, my senior guy, big guy, been with me since day one, walked up and spoke real quiet, real serious. "Ma'am," he said, "I think it's time for you to leave. Your brother's pipe playing, as you call it. It's paid my salary, bought my wife's car, and apparently funded your law school. So maybe show a little respect." Lauren looked around and finally realized she'd lost the room. Everyone was staring at her like she'd grown 3 heads. And honestly, that's exactly what she looked like. She made one last attempt. "Fine. I'll go public. I'll tell everyone what kind of brother you really are." I leaned on the counter and smiled. "Please do. Make sure to include the part where you had me banned from Christmas because you were ashamed I'm a plumber but still wanted me to pay your tuition. I'm sure that'll go over great." She stormed out after that, but not before knocking over a clipboard, kicking a business card holder, and slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. "Very mature, sis." After she left, the older customer came up to me, gently touched my arm, and said, "My late husband was a plumber. Put all 3 of our kids through college. They never once felt embarrassed about the work he did. You're doing the right thing, sweetheart. Sometimes family needs to learn respect is a 2-way street." I had a sit down with the staff afterward to explain the chaos, and they were all surprisingly understanding. Troy even joked that compared to this, his family's Thanksgiving drama looked like a fairy tale. But Lauren? She didn't stop there. She went full nuclear. Started calling every single member of our extended family, spinning this sob story about her evil brother who was destroying her future out of spite. The thing about family drama? Everyone loves the gossip, but no one wants to lift a finger to help. First up, Aunt Denise. Yes, her real name. And yes, she lives up to every bit of it. She called me outraged, ranting about family responsibility and how I was being selfish. This coming from the woman who borrowed $5,000 from me for dental work 3 years ago and never paid me back. "How could you do this to your sister?" she demanded. "She's just trying to make something of herself." I didn't skip a beat. "Funny," I said. "I don't remember you volunteering to help with her tuition. And by the way, you still owe me for your teeth." Dead silence on the line. That's different," she finally sputtered. "How do you bring that up? Is it different?" I asked. "Really? Because from where I'm standing, this whole family loves to talk about helping each other right up until someone actually needs help. Then suddenly? Crickets. Aunt Denise hung up on me after that. Guess hearing the truth stings a little more than those root canals she never paid me back for. Next came Uncle Brian, my dad's brother. This guy acts like he's the second coming of Warren Buffett, always bragging about his diverse portfolio, but when the dinner check comes, he's suddenly reaching for the invisible wallet. He had the nerve to tell me, "You should look at this as an investment in your sister's future. When she's a big-shot lawyer, she'll be able to return the favor." I laughed so hard I nearly pulled something. You mean the sister who couldn't even bring herself to let me eat dinner with her because I fix pipes for a living? That one's gonna help me. He mumbled something like, well, maybe you could help her get through school now and she could pay you back later. So I turned it around on him. Great idea, Uncle Brian. Why don't you front the cash? You're always talking about investing. Here's your golden opportunity to invest in family. And just like that, he suddenly had somewhere to be. Amazing how fast folks disappear when you ask them to open their wallets. What got me the most was this: not one single person who called to guilt trip me offered to actually help Lauren financially. All of them had plenty of opinions on what I should do with my money, but their own bank accounts stayed slammed shut. I'm done with Lauren. And if anything else happens, I'll keep you posted. But for now, here's the final update. So, yeah, my sister had me kicked out of Christmas because I'm just a plumber, so I pulled the plug on her tuition. Since a lot of people have been messaging me asking what happened next, here goes. Apparently, Lauren showed up at Nathan's parents' house completely uninvited. She tried to give them some teary sob story about how she was losing everything and needed help. Left out the whole, I tried to erase my brother because he's blue-collar part, of course. But Nathan was there and he told them the whole truth. His dad, who's a judge, looked Lauren right in the eye and said, young lady, if you're planning to become a lawyer, you should know that manipulating people with half-truths isn't exactly the best way to start your legal career. Yeah. Oof. Long story short, Lauren couldn't get private student loans without a cosigner. And guess what? After everything that happened, no one in the family was willing to sign for her. When our grandma finally got involved and scolded my parents, telling them they should be ashamed, they finally stopped calling me. Even they knew the jig was up. So Lauren dropped out of law school. She's now working as a paralegal at some tiny firm. According to Jenna, she's telling people it's just temporary and that she plans to go back to school. But we both know that's probably not happening. As for me, things have never been better. Business is booming. I've expanded, added 2 more trucks to the fleet, hired 5 new full-time guys, and we're booked out weeks in advance. I still grab beers now and then with Nathan and his Uncle Troy. Turns out they're solid people when there's no family drama in the way. Oh, and my parents? They reached out again around Thanksgiving. Not to apologize, nah, they wanted help with their mortgage. I politely declined. Maybe your successful lawyer daughter can help you, I said. Oh wait. Funny thing is, I feel lighter now that it's all out in the open. No more pretending. No more being the family ATM. No more walking on eggshells, hoping my job wouldn't offend anyone. Now it's just me, my thriving business, and a circle of real friends who couldn't care less what I do for a living, so long as I'm a decent person. And to the folks on Reddit, thank you. Sometimes you really do need total strangers to remind you you're not crazy for standing up for yourself. Edit. Holy crap, this blew up. Thanks for all the awards, and to the people DMing me about plumbing work, I appreciate it, but I'm trying to stay anonymous. Edit 2. To those saying I ruined my sister's life, nah. She did that all by herself. I just stopped funding the act. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and tap the bell because more shocking real-life stories like this are dropping soon.